Let's talk about self-assurance in your everyday life. Now, one of the phrases that popped up in my research on self-assurance that I feel really is right is trust your gut and live your life on your terms. The only thing I would add is be sure to pause and look around and seek others' input from time to time because you never know where you might be missing out by only doing things your way. But at the end of the day, living life on your terms is really probably one of your guiding thoughts, especially if you have assurance very high on your strengths. So, as we know, you are confident. You likely know that what you want and how you want to do it. And maybe feel like you don't really need any other help figuring that out. Now, this is obviously an amazing trait for living life on your terms. And I do really encourage people to live life on their terms. So even though I'm going to kind of push back on that concept a little bit in these videos, know that that's ultimately something I'm very interested in and I want for you. It's so natural for you to want to do that I don't want you to lean so far into that it causes alienation of yourself and others. So while this is an amazing trait, right, that you know what you want, how you want it, and know how to do it and don't really need help to get there, this also might cause challenges in creating community, building relationships, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that being said, there are always going to be people who gravitate toward you because they maybe aren't as confident in themselves, or they're very confident and just like your brand of confidence and want to be around it. Or, they're perfectly fine with who they are, but they want to follow. They want someone to kind of follow along with in life and relationship, and you are ready to lead. But on the flip side, there are also going to be others who are turned off by or feel challenged by this self-assurance, this self-confidence that you walk through life with. And now those people may just not be your people, and that's totally okay. But it's always important with any strength to be able to kind of find that middle ground. We don't want to just write off anyone who is threatened by us or intimidated by us or just doesn't agree, right? That's not, we got a lot of people doing a lot of that right now. We don't need any more of that. We don't need any more of that. So in order to kind of create a strong and diverse community around you, it means sometimes you're going to be in community with other people who have self-assurance. And how do you find space for both of you there, right? So learning how to kind of harness that strength, when to project it, when to kind of hold it in. That's something that's going to be really helpful for you as you're navigating life and relationships and all of those things. And by harness, I don't mean hide. I want to be clear about that. Harness just means you don't need to be leaning into this particular strength right now. You can lean into some of your other strengths, right? And we've talked about this a lot. Some strengths are great for goal setting and some strengths are not the ones you're going to use for goal setting. Same thing here. There are relationship building strengths for a reason, and this is not necessarily one of them. So just know that and know when to lean into your self-assurance and know when to kind of back off of it a little bit. All right, moving on from that, you likely take on all kinds of ventures, projects, experiences, etc., that sound interesting to you, whether you have experience doing them or not. And I would say 9 times out of 10, you probably will pull off whatever it is that you set out to do without a problem. An easy way for you to build trust in relationships with people that can also help you keep you from making silly mistakes is to make a point to consult with others and seek out their opinions when you've made a decision about something or a direction that you want to go in that you don't necessarily have a lot of experience in. This could be as simple as you're taking on some sort of project in the community and you've never done that before. So yeah, you could probably confidently figure it out and move forward with that. But it's also a great opportunity to bring in the thoughts, opinions, ideas of people who maybe have done it before, who have experience in this area. It doesn't mean you have to take everything they say to heart. It just means it's a good space to build relationship by asking for help, asking for support, asking for ideas, etc. And the best part about this is that by putting your natural confidence together with their actual skill or experience or knowledge of the area that you're working in or project you're doing or thing you're learning, you're able to choose an even more productive path forward because you're confident and even more confident in it now that you've talked to someone who might be an expert. And all of this is really just a way to manage the blind spot that can come with self-assurance, where you really believe in yourself so much that you don't feel like you ever need other people's help or opinions. And so remember that no one is right all the time. No one gets it right all the time. No one knows everything, right? So just know that that's true, and it does not change your confidence or your ability to get things done if you ask for input from someone else. It actually hopefully will increase your confidence because it'll either align with what you were originally going to do and you're like, yep, see, I was right, great, let's do it. Or it's like complete opposite of what you're going to do and you're like, okay, glad I didn't do that, I'm going to do it a different way, now I feel confident in doing it this way. So that's just something to think about in terms of blind spots and relationships when it comes to self-assurance. Another blind spot to just keep an eye on is that because of your confidence, you tend to have a confident tone when you're talking about things. So when people are listening to you, most of the time, they assume that you know what you're talking about, whether you do or not. And this could lead people to believe that what you're saying is the truth and to take action on it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, except if you don't actually know what you're talking about, and then people are taking you at your word. But the other thing is that it can cause intimidation, right? If you're so confident in what you're saying, it can intimidate people and keep them from wanting to ask questions or share their thoughts on the topic with you because clearly you're right. And if they have questions, what's wrong with them? Or clearly you're right, and therefore what they know to be true must be wrong. So it's important to recognize this blind spot and learn when to step up or step back on topics to allow others to kind of give their 2 cents without feeling fearful of being wrong. And what I mean by step up, step back is literally like, should I step into this conversation or should I take a step back and like let everyone else around me talk for a little bit before I interject or before I share my thoughts? Especially if you know that you are a big presence and people tend to listen to you. If you share your thoughts right off the bat, and this is in life, but I would say probably should have mentioned this in the work section as well. If you are leading something or you're kind of like the head of your family or like whatever it is, if you are always the one that's sharing your opinion first because you're the most confident, it can make other people just say, oh yeah, I agree, when maybe they really didn't. So if we really want to get a diversity of thought, we really want to hear what other people have to say, then it's important that maybe sometimes you step back a little bit. Cool? All right, so that is what I have for self-assurance in life. I want to just reiterate that I pushed into a couple of things that are challenges for self-assurance. You don't have a lot of challenges. You're very like sure of yourself in the best and most beautiful way. And it is such a skill and such a benefit to any team or group or family or friendship or whatever that you're a part of, as long as it's not overdone and as long as you're not leaning into it too much, right? So this is one of those strengths, and I've talked about this a couple of times. I talked about this with like empathy and a couple others, where I likely don't have to tell you how to lean into this strength. And that's why we spend most of our time talking about how to manage, how to set boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. There are some other strengths where I kind of have to be like, hey, lean into it. Like, it's okay, do it. And that's why we talk about like how to lean into that strength. So hopefully that lands for you. If you want more about how to lean into the strength because you're not feeling super aligned to it or you're not feeling self-assured, then reach out to me and let me know. And I can send you a couple of other things to think about. And then maybe we can do a strength session to help you really get clear on what this looks like for you. That's what we have for self-assurance in life. In the next video, we'll talk about some tips and tricks to help you maximize self-assurance in life, work, relationships, etc. See you there.